When my wife gave me an ultimatum, she believed it would force me to bend to her wishes. She stood in the living room with her arms crossed, her voice sharp and full of certainty as she said, "Either you choose this marriage and give up your obsession with work, or I'm leaving." Her words echoed through the house, and for a brief moment, I simply looked at her, realizing this had never truly been about my job. It was about control, about testing limits to see how far I would go to prove my love. I had always been patient with her temper, always the one willing to compromise just to keep the peace. But that day, something inside me changed. For the first time, I saw clearly how much I had sacrificed, how much of myself I had lost trying to please someone who treated love like leverage instead of a partnership. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't argue. I calmly replied, "If leaving is your decision, I won't stop you." The silence afterward felt suffocating. Her expression shifted instantly. She never expected me to stand my ground. For years, she had relied on emotion to get her way, knowing I hated conflict and would do anything to keep our home from falling apart. But this time, I was done sacrificing my self-respect for temporary peace that never truly lasted. She packed a bag, convinced I would run after her like I always had before. But I didn't. I stayed where I was, watching her walk out while the weight of that moment settled deep inside my chest. Days slowly turned into weeks, and at first the house felt painfully empty, quiet in a way that made me question my decision. But with every passing day, that silence slowly turned into clarity. I began sleeping better, thinking more clearly, reconnecting with old friends, and rediscovering hobbies I had abandoned long ago. For the first time in years, I finally felt like myself again. Then one evening, she appeared at my door without warning. The confidence she once carried was gone. She looked uneasy, her eyes wandering around the house as if she hardly recognized it anymore. "I didn't think you'd actually let me go," she said quietly, her voice trembling. I looked at her calmly and answered, "You asked me to choose, and I did. I chose peace." Tears filled her eyes as she insisted I had misunderstood her, claiming she only wanted to feel important in my life. But her words couldn't erase the months of manipulation that came before that day. I had begged for partnership, not power struggles. I had pleaded for honest communication, not ultimatums. She chose control instead of connection, and now she was realizing too late that love built on demands eventually collapses under its own weight. She tried to move back in, saying she had nowhere else to go. But by then, my mind was already made up. "You can't keep coming back whenever you regret your choices," I told her firmly, and the finality in my voice made her step back. I had quietly filed for separation, not out of anger or revenge, but out of necessity, to reclaim the parts of myself I had buried beneath years of emotional compromise. The same people who once called me cold for letting her leave later admitted they finally understood. They saw the difference in me, the calmness in my voice, the confidence in the way I carried myself, and the peace I had found that nobody could take away. I learned that ultimatums are rarely about solutions. They are about control. Real love does not come with conditions that force someone to choose between their identity and their relationship. It grows through mutual respect, honest conversation, and shared growth. My wife's ultimatum backfired, not because I wanted her gone, but because I finally realized I deserved a marriage built on equality instead of threats. When I finally closed that chapter of my life, I did it without anger. I did it with acceptance. I had given her every opportunity to meet me halfway, but when she drew a line meant to trap me, I chose to step over it and move forward, free, peaceful, and finally whole.